But vibe coding is Microsoft's new way of allowing us build application without doing too much heavy lifting.
I've been doing a lot of vibe coding, even not just
Mm.
within the Power Platform space, beyond the Power Platform space.
That AI in Power Platform isn't just a feature, isn't just an addition, but it has actually come to stay. Either you get involved or you get left behind.
A lot of people are expecting magic.
Computer is garbage in, garbage out.
So if you still try to be stuck to the old way of doing things, you will quickly be left behind.
Everybody can actually build an application because they are not
Mhm.
production ready.
Welcome to Power Platform Deep Dive. This is a place for honest conversations about building on the Microsoft Power Platform based on real projects and real experience. I'm your host, Kayode Ajayi.
And I am your host, Annabelle Komose. This show is for developers, solution architects, people that are just beginning, intermediate, or pros, anyone practically growing or learning in the Power Platform space and beyond. We go through numerous topics within Power Platform, and we are happy to have you here with us. This week, we're going to go through some major updates within the community that we find interesting. And I would like to throw that to Kayode. Kayode, was one thing or one update within the community or within Power Platform recently that you really liked?
Well, for me, there are a couple of things. I think first off, we just wrapped up the MVP Summit. Very amazing. Loads of practical demonstrations about the platform, where it's going. So that was very insightful. Apart from that, I'm very excited that the 2026 release wave plan for the Power Platform Dynamics has been released.
Okay.
And that article, we're going to link it in the description. It contains loads of features coming to the Power Platform. How about you, Annabelle? What did you find exciting in the last few weeks?
I find something exciting, but just before we go into what we find exciting, Kayode just skimmed through the fact that MVP Summit just ended. But Kayode's name was on the wall. I
Oh yes, yes,
actually
that
believe
was so
that's
amazing. Yeah,
great. That's like top
I didn't
10.
know it was a list stuff, but I kudos to the guys who put it together. That was really,
Yes,
it just
like
lets you know how you're a part of a wider community.
community.
Because even the regional directors too were on the list, and
No.
so
Big congrats, Kayode. So that's one update. But
thank you.
another thing that I'm actually really fascinated about is vibe coding. I know that most people have heard it, or some of the people have actually not heard about it. But vibe coding is Microsoft's new way of allowing us build application without doing too much heavy lifting. So now it's shifting from building based on data, but building now we're building based on prompt. So we
Mm,
explain what we want and we get an application. It's currently in preview and we can test it for those that have US based tenant. You can test it, you can play around with it. I know Charles Seston has a video on it. Matthew Durrani has a video on it, and Microsoft has the official documentation. We're going to have all these helpful links in the description. Check it out. Let us know how you feel about it. With this new system, that means everybody can actually build an application. You literally just have to explain what you want and you get a ready-made app. I think that's pretty cool. Coyote, what do you think?
yeah, that's really cool. Vibe coding, and I've been doing a lot of vibe coding, even not just
Mm,
within the Power Platform space, beyond the Power Platform space. Because I'm
yes.
someone who loves technology, I love coding, but I never really got to that point where I could say I'm building an app and I'm deploying it to production.
Yes.
But with vibe coding, I have that assistant who knows a lot about coding, and I can
Yes.
literally just tell it what I'm thinking about, and it puts it together. So it's really amazing. I've been doing a lot of vibe coding. Even I know colleagues of mine too that are doing a lot of vibe coding.
Doing it. Yes.
And I came across an article, and the article said people who are pro devs
Yes.
should be the ones embracing vibe coding, because now we have people who had no experience before building apps, deploying it to real users, while we have some pro devs that are still, I'm not going to use that.
No.
But I feel like once you're a pro dev, you can do much more, or you should be able to do much more than just a random person like me picking it up and deploying stuff. So I think this is just an encouragement to every one of us again to just try it out. It's really exciting.
Yes. And so I really find it fascinating because we cannot just say, oh, because I'm a pro dev or I'm not a pro dev. Everybody is able to contribute or use it. Because
Yeah.
pro devs would be able to even back and see the code behind the scene and tweak it easily. While
Yeah.
people that are not pro devs are tweaking the output by re-engineering their prompt. Pro dev is able to tweak the output by going back to the code and saying, oh, this is not right, oh, this is right. So I think it's
Exactly.
for everybody. So off the back of that, I think we're ready for today's topic. Vibe
Mhm.
coding, AI. It's something that Kayode really likes. This is Kayode's territory. I like to think as Kayode as the AI genius, number one AI genius
Oh.
I know. And so we're going to a topic that I know Kayode is really happy about. And it's about, like,
Mhm.
how does AI change how we build? How has AI changed everything? And what's the future now? Because it's the question that most people are asking. What's the future for Power Platform? Is Power Platform dead? Should we forget it? Is Power Platform forgotten? Now, do we just focus on Copilot? And so, Kayode, I would ask this question. When did it click for you that AI in Power Platform isn't just a feature, isn't just an addition, but it has actually come to stay?
So AI, especially when we had OpenAI
Yes.
release ChatGPT to the world, a lot of people said this is a bubble. And just like the .com bubble, this is a bubble that is going to burst someday. And we still see AI getting developed, doing much more than it could do before. Everything is moving fast. And I wonder if there's still people somewhere thinking, well, when is this bubble going to burst? Now, one company I know that is not expecting this bubble to burst anytime soon is Microsoft, because Microsoft are taking that big bet on AI, and well, they rebranded the whole office to Copilot, and now we have Copilot.
Everywhere.
So Microsoft is very bullish in AI. And one other aspect that they have been very bullish and are still investing much more is AI on the Power Platform, because the Power Platform has been like Microsoft's baby in the sense that they've created this tool and they've sold it to loads of organizations around the world. And we've said, we are empowering you to build stuff to solve your problems. And it's done so well over the years. Now with AI, Microsoft has been and are still investing a whole lot in the Microsoft Power Platform. That's why, if you notice, most of the updates coming around the Power Platform these days, they are AI updates, right? So I'll say, when did I know that it's not something that is just going to disappear, or is not just a feature? Is where we have AI in every product. You open your Microsoft's Word, you have the Copilot there, and now we even have MCPs coming out for Microsoft Word, MCPs coming out for SharePoint. So all of this just lets you know that we are moving to a system where AI is native on not just the Power Platform, but within the Microsoft stack. And there's the whole talk about the frontier organization. That's Microsoft's position with AI. It's going to be a system where it is built into the platform, and the platform itself is AI native rather than you just making AI an add-on. So, talking about that, do you think teams are ready for this situation where we have AI everywhere? In the way you work today, has AI in Microsoft Word make a difference for you? The AI we have all around, does it make any difference for you? Or do
You
you think teams are ready to take this on?
So I think that question is actually multifaceted. One part is like, do I think teams are ready? I think some teams are ready. Some teams are actually anticipating the next wave. We're currently in this wave where people are like, oh, some people are now more trusting, or we even have more teams that are going full out, investing time and effort and resources into making sure that their staffs are top skilled in every AI related technology, because they're already buying into the ideology that AI is the future. And so we, in that same vein, we also have teams that are, you said, waiting for this bubble to burst. Actually, they're like, it's just going to go down. But I think it's either you get involved or you get left behind. There is no two way about it. This is a technology that is coming fast, and it has actually helped me a lot. It has helped us. Do you know what's funny? My friend watched our video on Copilot, and then she watched the very first one when we were talking about Copilot, the very first episode. And
Yeah.
ever since then, she's always telling me, oh, I got Copilot to do this for me. I got Copilot to do that for me. Literally, my friend that has never done Copilot before, shout out to Maria. She's like, oh, by the way, I went and I told Copilot, can you go through my email and give me that? If that one person can watch one video and see that Copilot has made our work so much better, imagine the countless other lives that we've been able to make our day-to-day tasks. The way I see it is we get to free up more time for us to do things that require our human reasoning, things that require more effort. We get to be super productive. If, for example, you want to retrieve a document that will take you 1 hour, you need to go through the email thread, you would need to call one of your colleagues to call the other colleague. Now with AI, we're able to do that all fast. And so I believe some teams are ready, some teams are not ready. Some people are still believing that it's all going to pass when the time comes. But people are putting in time and effort. I know people that are putting so much effort to be fully knowledgeable about this technology. People are putting effort into making sure that every new update that comes up, they are in on top of it. They have knowledge about it and they can work with it. So I think it's a two-way thing. But the most important thing is that we should always be found among the teams that are ready and not the teams that are on shaky ground and unsure of what the future is. And so,
Yeah.
right off the back of that, I would like to ask you, are people expecting too much from Copilot right now? Do you think that we are too dependent on this
Mm.
magical AI Copilot that's changed everything for us?
That's a very good question. And I speak with a lot of clients as part of my day job, and a lot of people are expecting magic. And I think we talked about this in some of the episodes that we went through some time ago. So people are literally expecting magic. Now, you've not sorted out your data and you want the best results. That's not going to happen. You're expecting magic at that point. So, in terms of expectations, I'll say the expectations is up there, especially when people use some other tools and I've had loads of clients do this. They come with a requirement and they said, well, we've spoken with ChatGPT and this is the kind of response we're getting from ChatGPT. And they're like, well, yes, you're building an agentic copilot studio. I need this same exact level of detail,
Response.
level of response. But that's not always realistic because, well, ChatGPT is a public tool, but a lot of times, Microsoft, when you make a request, Microsoft doesn't usually send all your requests to their servers. They only send a form of summary of your request. So they take out things that are sensitive, things that you would not want to get out of your organization's boundary, and they just send a form of summary to their servers. So just that alone tells you that you might not always get the same kind of response, but the clients want that, and that's what we have to deliver. And well, a lot of times we always end up delivering it, but it takes some more working to get to that kind of output. So that's in terms of the Copilot Studio agents we build. Even when it comes to the copilots that are available within the different tools, well, I think going forward, some of them will be offered under this frontier feature. So it will be interesting to see how that looks like when it rolls out. I think it's going to be rolled out in May. So when that rolls out, it'll be interesting to see how that looks like. But I'll say people are expecting a whole lot from AI, and you cannot blame them because they've tried these AI tools, they've seen the kind of results they can have, and even within the workspace, they're expecting that level of results. And we have situations where people are now trying to bring their own AI to work, and it raises a lot of issues with IT. So if the in-house AI that is being
It's not
offered
working.
is not good enough, you'll find situations where people are bringing AI to work, or they are taking client sensitive data and putting it in ChatGPT just to get a certain kind of response. So it's just the game with technology. We always want to make it better so that it can deliver the kind of results that people are expecting. So, what's your experience with the co-pilots? Has it let you down, or have you been in a situation where you're not getting the kind of answers or behaviors from co-pilots? And when I say co-pilot, I'm not just talking of co-pilot studio,
The
but
studio
co-pilot.
in general. I think to practically just solve this up is what we call when the bot is hallucinating or when the agent is
Hmm.
hallucinating. And it's not only just to co-pilot. I think most, I don't want to just generalize, but sometimes even people that have used ChatGPT, when you are telling it this is the actual truth, and it's giving you a very random
Yeah.
answer. My colleague made me do this. He said if you ask ChatGPT how many R's in strawberry, he's not gonna get it. And now that's not true. And I did it and he did not get it.
Wow.
But it's also a very powerful tool. But it's also, that's why the human oversight is very important.
Yeah.
Because if we put in too much trust that, oh, like this AI agent, this chat, this bot, in any way are using it. You could be using it in PowerPoint, creating a PowerPoint presentation. You still need oversight to even check your speaker notes. Because you would upload your presentation, you create the screen, you create the headers, and then you tell your copilot to generate speaker notes. And it is reading the information on the screen wrongly. It is even presenting the icons, your design, it is reading it wrongly. And so you would have to go in to edit your speaker notes. Microsoft Word, I like agents, the Copilot agent on your Word because I use it more for grammar and fine tuning
Okay.
words. But also, for example, Power Automate. We're not even going too far. People that use ChatGPT to generate some formulas, this is why I say oversight. Sometimes the simplest one, ChatGPT will tell you to put a select in your form.
Every
That does not exist. Where did you get that from? I'm very sure Power Automate does not have a select formula. But this
no.
is why whoever anybody that is using any AI agent, you need to know your onus on whatever you are building or whatever you're working on. So that way you can put like that oversight, that guardrail
Yeah.
around what you are building. Because the agent you built might retrieve data, and if possible, you build an agent in Copilot Studio, and your instructions were not explicit enough because he's not able to retrieve what you've asked it to retrieve. It's just going to start giving you information that you don't even need. So I've had countless situations whereby the agent was not able to do what I wanted to do. But it's also important I would remember that I always remind myself, computer is garbage in, garbage out. So
Right.
sometimes if the agent is not trained properly, it's going to give you garbage. So that's why it's garbage in, it's garbage out. Going back to what you said about data, if you give the agent wrong data, it's going to give you wrong response. So all that tied together. I've had experiences like that. But I would also want to ask you regarding governance, because we
Okay.
are always around the agent, we're always talking about building and working on this agent. But do you think we are putting as much thought into governance regarding this AI agent, regarding these AI solutions? And do you think that the governance we currently have will be able to keep up with how fast AI is moving?
Governance is always a hot topic, and that's where you see two different postures at play. The posture of Microsoft is we have this fancy AI tools. Let's get it out there in production as quick as we can. And that's why you see a lot of these AI things, they're turned on by default. If you go to Agent 365, you see access to loads of agents built by Microsoft and even some that are not built by Microsoft, but Microsoft says, well, we have already vetted these guys. And they're just kind of on by default. And you're like, oh, wait, what happens if
It
somebody just
breaks.
decides to create a connection and start using this agent? And all of that has happened without IT intervening, without permission. That can easily lead to issues around governance, around compliance. So we have those two postures at play. Now, one thing that I've seen for a fact is that Microsoft is also investing a lot in giving admins more tools. So in the coming weeks, we'll be seeing some updates to the agents 365 admin area. We'll be seeing some new options, new ways to see what's going on with your agents, new ways to have controls around that. So Microsoft is investing a lot in that. But the question is, what do we do today? Now, as an IT admin, you need to be on top of these changes. Well, there are loads of changes coming up all the time. But as an IT admin, you need to be on top of them. Having things like your data policies in play. How have you configured it? So say, and it's very interesting because within the Agent 365 or within the M365 admin center, there are some agents that are available there. But if the agent is using a connection that you have blocked in your DLP policy, the users will not be able to use it, even though it's technically on. So there's also the question of how have you set up your data policies? Do you have everything coming into the blocked category? Or do you have every new thing coming into the business or the non-business category? So the way you've configured things like your data policies will really help you stay safe. Also, the way you've configured your Agent 365. So stay on that page. As I've said, loads of updates will be coming in the next few weeks. But you need to stay on that page, see the new changes, see the controls available there. And really that's what you have to keep things under control. And there are some things you can do where you say only certain people are allowed to create agents. And that just reduces your risk from organization wide to just a certain few people. So even today, there are some controls. I wouldn't say they are always the easiest to find, but there are ways you can still reduce the risk around agents and co-pilots within your organization. So have you heard of situations where an AI rollout goes wrong? Do you have examples of that? Have you come across anything like that?
So there are some, but I will just quickly drop this one is when you build an AI agent that's connected to sensitive data, but not putting the restriction on who can access that data.
Mm.
And so deploying that agent and people are relating to it because that guardrail was not put in place about, oh, users were not able to, or users without certain security levels are not supposed to access that data. And they were just rolling it out for everybody to just test it out and see people were accessing sensitive data. That's one. Another one will possibly be rolling out an AI agent that without the proper instruction. And so most of these agents, they start hallucinating. They hallucinate on their own, but because they have to give you a response for any question you ask, because that agent did not get the proper instructions built into it, it was just giving unsolicited response. And that also ties back to what you're talking about governance. Governance is not something that I know that we are all happy and we're all giddy. We are able to create agents any time of the day. I can create agents to book my time off. I can create agents to message K when I want. I can create agents for anything. But because we're all giddy about agents, we also need to also be thinking about governance while we are building. We also need to be thinking
Right.
about like the governance and the guardrails while we are building that agent. And for
Yeah.
example, if I build an agent and I'm sharing it with my colleague, I need to also keep in my mind that did I connect that agent to any sensitive data that my colleague should probably not see or have access to. But if I don't think about that while building that agent and I built it and I share it to everyone, that is me not being proactive. So most of all these things, even in this shiny moment that we've got this new shiny tool that we're able to bring out. So it's fascinating. You could build an agent for anything. And
Yeah.
so even with that access, even we as the IT team, are we putting that restrictions on who gets to build an agent? Because everyone can build an agent. It's a blessing and it's a curse. Because anyone can actually go and build an agent that we don't need, that just taking up resources and it's not taking the business anywhere. But putting those restrictions into place to make sure that, and these restrictions are thought about at the very beginning, even as
Yeah.
simple as the instructions we are giving our agent. Are we telling our agent, answer this and no more? When
Yeah.
interacting with a customer, check their role. If they don't have a specific role, no more. Or if a person requests specific data, are we sending an approval before we give them that data they are requesting? All these are things that we should be thinking about even from the very beginning process, not just us being happy that I can be the wonderful agent on a Tuesday. By 1 p.m., my agent is ready.
I really like one thing you said, and it's just a message that the governance is not just on the admins, but even you building the agent, also
Yes.
think of controls because as I said, you could be among the people that are allowed to build agents, but your agents could still pose a security risk. if you have not put the right guardrails in place. One thing I always like to do anytime I build agents is I just ask an unrelated question, maybe something like, give me the top 100 musicians in the UK. And if the agent answers me, I know that something is wrong somewhere. So I always like to do that. It's interesting you say that too.
Oh, that's a new one. But also, I'm going to test all my agents now and be like,
Go,
what?
good.
What's the top 100 UK artists? And if it's that answer, I'm like, according to you are wrong. I need to edit
Yeah.
this. But also, keeping on this power platform, we know that not every power platform developer has really embraced this building agent, and because power platform, it took us time to learn it, and now you are telling us that we should start building agent, and I'm
Mhm.
just like, I'm still learning power apps. So for those developers that are thinking I'm still in power apps and mastering power automate, and now you are telling me agent, what mindset do you think we need to stay relevant? And do you think this AI that we're all talking about, this co-pilot, is it something that we should be scared of or something that we should actually embrace? And
Yeah.
what mindset do we need to embrace it? How do we stay relevant in this career that is almost as if the bar is forever shifting? Because you've just managed to learn power apps and power automate now, and somebody is
Yeah.
telling you now that you should come and be a co-pilot master. So how do we stay relevant and how do we continue building?
So one of my colleagues did something this last week. He built, well, it wasn't even an agent, but he connected, he had a repository. So he took a Power App and he unpacked it using the Power App CLI into VS Code. Then from within VS Code, he was able to get a skill. So there was a Claude skill that Tolu Victor Sawolu created
Yes.
that helps you design user interfaces for Power Apps. And he connected it. Interestingly, I think it was like a Claude code skill, but my colleague was able to, because my colleague had access to Codex, he was able to convert it to something that Codex could use. And he did that with a simple prompt, probably with an image. He was able to get a very beautiful looking UI. And that's just the world we are today. So if you still try to be stuck to the old way of doing things, you will quickly be left behind, stealing that from Annabelle's mouth. You will quickly be left behind because it's everything is changing so quickly
So fast.
and you should embrace it. It's kind of uncharted territories, especially when you are a low code developer, because when you hear VS Code, you're like, well, I don't need to have anything to do with VS Code. But we are no longer in a world where we are thinking of apps. We are in a world where we are thinking of solutions,
Mm.
right? So the way we were always proud that, well, we could build apps, I think we are going to be shifting away from that position to say we are solution providers. We can provide solutions, whatever the solution looks like, whether it's an app, whether it's an agent, whatever it needs to be, we will be able to do that for you. So if you're thinking in terms of automation, to say that you restricting your stack to automation, especially the way you've been doing it before. Now we have loads of automation tools that can actually integrate deeply to AI, and it's almost like AI is driving the automation rather than the preset rules that you have been doing before. So as developers, we need to start positioning our mindset not just as devs, but also as architects. Because the world that is quickly approaching us is a world where you tell an agent, well, this is what I want, and it goes ahead and build it. But you might start wondering, well, what about business users? Will I still have a job? And I think that would be a question for you, Annabelle. Well, it's the way we are today is almost like the developers and the business users have access to the same tools. So, as a developer, what are you going to use to stand out when somebody comes to you and say, "Well, this is an app that I've coded in 5 minutes"? How do you justify that it takes you 3 months or 6 months to build the app? So it's a tough one. I'll show you.
But and I would still write off on what you said when you said that we should keep up and we should put effort into learning it. Because although it's uncharted territory, You know what happened when people go and they explore new, because I watch Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm going to use a Pirates of the Caribbean analogy. And so we would need Jack Sparrow to go and discover gold in a new island that we've never been before. But we've never been to this island before. But Jack Sparrow, because he has gone to other islands before, he knows what to expect on this voyage. He'll be like, I've not gone for this one. Give me the map. I know how to read this map. I know what to look out for. I know what will possibly dangers I will possibly see and will avoid. That's where we come in. So business users and developers can now build the same application. But mind you, these applications that we are vibe coding, they are not business ready to roll out immediately. They still need somebody that has built before for years. You've been doing this thing for a while. There are some little tips and tricks that are unique to you and that are unique
Yeah.
to me. There are little hiccups that you've been able to work around with. I remember when the big thing that everybody was going through was delegation issue
Yeah.
in building application, and everybody found their own unique way of getting over the delegation issue. If you open an application I built that I bypassed delegation and the application Kayode built and it bypassed delegation, we possibly did it in two different ways, but we
Yeah.
both bypassed delegation. And so a business user that is just starting does not know what the delegation issue means. They just explain to this wonderful bot, can you build me an application? And when they get to delegation issue, guess who they are going to meet? Me
Yeah.
that have been. So I think even though business users are now able to build these applications, there are also more complex applications that business users would still not have the time for. Fine, we know that Taro can vibe code and HR application for them. But there are complexity in data structures, there are complexity in relating to APIs. We need to create custom connectors. We still need actual local developers for that. And so what makes us truly stand out is that most of even this application that business users are creating, we would need to make it production ready because they are not
Mhm.
production ready. They can vibe code the applications, but is it according to the standard that we've always built? Are they ALM compatible? Because
Right.
it's different forms. It's a different case where Steve in Arrow vibe coded this beautiful application. Yes, Steve has vibe coded this beautiful application, and Steve put in security rules for people that will access data in that beautiful application. Does Steve knows that he should not give system customizer role to everybody? Does Steve know that everybody should not be a global administrator? They still need people like me and you that have spent time and time again understanding this thing. That's why we as the developers, we should also be forefront of this AI conversation. Because fine, everybody can now build an application and it makes it easy. So that means they are not coming to meet us for little applications that they could easily build. So now when they need things that would even increase our innovation, makes us think deeper, make us spend countless nights, even just trying to understand the architecture of this application, we would not
Yeah.
be able to put time and effort. Everybody is not sitting down saying, we want a coffee roulette. Can Annabelle help us build a coffee roulette application? No, everybody can sit down and build that kind of simple application. Where in our own little way, we're able to now build bigger solutions. And we're also able to scale solutions that they've built. And I
Yeah.
also see it in such a way that business users can build as much solutions that they want to build, but it also needs to pass through, still on this guardrail, it needs to pass through seasoned developers that would go through this application and say, do they meet the standard? Is it going to cause issue? Are we going to deploy the solution that you've built that's going to cause an infinite loop and crash our SharePoint? We don't want you to build an application for us and you crash our SharePoint and we say our intranet is down. No. So all this is why I think we still have our job. We're still secured. God, it's going to take a long time for people to get a grasp of all this. So that's why we
Yeah.
as the developers, we also need to be at the forefront. So that
Yeah.
when people are building, like Jack Sparrow, they would come to us and say, we are going to uncharted territory. We need your expertise from previous years in searching for this goal.
That's really amazing because you said something, and while you were talking, it struck me that business users have always had access to the Power Platform, haven't they? They've always had
Ah,
access to the default, and we've
yes,
always
that's
had
true.
access, and we've all still kept our jobs. So, because there's also the point of risk. And
Yeah.
the SharePoint story is so funny.
Oh yeah.
You know what? They would not even want to be in a position where
Position
they said,
whereby
well, I'm a finance admin, but I built an agent or I built an automation that has brought SharePoint down. So they don't want to accept that
yeah.
risk. And the question is, who is going to accept
Take
that
that
risk?
risk.
Well, obviously, someone who has been doing this
It's
for
for
years and years. So, very good point you shared there. Thanks, Annabelle.
yes. And also, I would just want to ask you, what's one recent failure that actually taught you something valuable?
So for this one, I wouldn't necessarily call it a failure,
Okay.
but it's just more or less trying to stick to old ways. So this last week, I did an agent POC, and initially when I started building the agent, I found myself going down the topic route and trying to do everything manually. And at some point, I just said, "Wait, what am I doing?" I was just like, what am I doing? There's better ways to do this. And I just had to create version 2. And with the version 2, I relied more on the instructions, kept everything lean, kept everything separated, and relied on the agents LLM to figure things out and
Wow.
connect them properly. So just giving it the right tools, the right data sources, and it's worked much, much brilliantly than me having to get the topics to do everything and prescribe everything step by step. That's the old way of doing things. That's the power virtual agents of doing things.
Of doing things.
But every once in a while, when I'm doing a Copilot Studio project, I find myself going down that rabbit hole again and just try to do everything through topics rather than relying on the generative AI capabilities. So I think it's taught me a lesson not to do that next time, and I hope I don't do that next time.
Yes. So, still back on what we're talking about, how we are going to keep our jobs. Situations like this is why we are going to have a job. Because a business user would not know that they should create a version 2 and they would probably use the latest way of editing it. Because this is our actual job, I think. This is what we do for a living. If somebody in HR is doing something in HR, but this is what we've been doing for years. So I think I like that. I like how you put it, Skip.
So, are there any mistakes you've seen, or maybe you've seen teams do
I
that
think
you like to share?
I think it's first of all, it's not realizing that the center of everything is correct data. Then
Mm.
the output, I would never forget. I was in school and somebody said, "Computer is garbage out," and it stuck with me forever. So even when I used to do like demo, I'd always say, when somebody will say, "Oh, this thing is not working," I'll say it's garbage out because like, if you don't put in the right information, you are not going to get the right output. It's that we do not believe that clean, good data is the forefront of every conversation we are having. Because now that we're building agents that we're connecting to data sources, we're building agents that we're giving a knowledge base. How clean is the knowledge that we're connecting that agent to? How clean is the data? Sometimes you would have data and people filled in wrong information. That's why if you're learning Power BI, the first thing that they always do, I did a Power BI course once. The first thing we'll always do is to clean our data. You
Yeah.
just have to clean your data, take out the empty rows, take out the empty columns. Just make sure the data is clean. Then you can derive the most insight from that data. It's the same thing. I think people are forgetting the fact that it's literally the same thing. We need our data source that we're connecting to be the best. We need to make sure that it is good, it is clean, the data source is ready so that whatever value we're getting, it is correct. Also, we need to also test the AI agent we are deploying. Your example where you say you're asking where the top one, I'm going to try that. Where we say what is the top 100 song? Who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew that you could debug your agent by just asking top 100 artists in the UK? If we don't, we test it with every possible scenario. And so we could even see ways it is hallucinating and re-engineer it. Because if we test it and we find out, oh, how can we rework on this instruction? We're able to re-engineer it and work on it and make it better. So I think rigorous testing, ignoring data structure, not making sure our data is correct, or also not being over reliant on AI, thinking we could bypass the foundational knowledge. I'm a big fan of AI is going to change the world and all that. I believe firmly that that foundational knowledge, we should all have it so that whatever the output AI is giving us and what we are able to debug, I did not used to write code before. And If you are writing code with JavaScript and the ChatGPT is giving you, or any AI model is giving you the data, the JavaScript you are using, if you don't know how to read JavaScript, if you don't have that foundational knowledge of what even a simple comma or a semicolon means, or what declaring a variable means, you will not know what you are looking at. You're just looking at JavaScript and you keep on saying, oh, it's not working. But because this variable is not being declared correctly, or this is an infinite loop, you are able to debug it even if you did not write the code. So that's some of the mistakes I think some teams are making. But I would also like to hear from you just before we go. From the AI experts, what are some mistakes that you've seen in the time past? What are some mistakes that you think some teams, or even we as individuals, we are making around adopting AI and building agents?
So I'll say one of the main things is, well, you've talked about data. Data is always the easiest go to
Yes.
because, well, the data must be good for the agent to work fine. The other thing, well, this one is more understanding about how the agents are licensed. I'll say even we developers, we don't necessarily talk a lot about this because there's not so much clear visibility in terms of how many credits is this particular agent. Well, I'm talking of within the Microsoft space. Currently, there's no clear visibility in terms of knowing what a chat session, how much have you consumed in that chat section? Is there ways you could have done this, gotten the same results by consuming less? So we had something happen with one POC agent one of our colleagues was building, and something happened, maybe the way he triggered it or the way the logic was. It consumed loads of credit at once. And we were like, where did all the credits go? So there's, for example, there are some actions that consume 2 credits. There are some actions that consume 3 credits. When you trigger an agent autonomously, it consumes more credit than when you trigger it through a chat session. So there are different considerations, and even when you're designing the agent, especially how we think of performance,
Yes.
we can also think of performance in the sense of, well, rather than spending 35 credits to achieve this, can I do it in 3 credits? So it's a bit more advanced, and a lot of times we don't care about that right now.
No.
We just want to have the proof of concept, and maybe we think of optimization later on. But I'm just going to put it out there, even while building your agent, it's good for you to understand how credits are consumed, and that could also influence the way you design your agent. So I think that would be my 2 cents there.
Oh, thank you so much, dear. Thank you. See,
Okay.
from the wise words of Kay, and I think that's also
Thank
important.
you.
Something I would
Yeah.
also want to pick is accessibility also.
Right.
I listened to Head at my practice lead give a talk of an accessibility in the Manchester All Day group. And I think we are all just, let me not say all, I just want to build an agent quickly and say, oh, I've done this agent for this, I've done that agent for that. But just like putting governance and guardrails at the beginning, they are part of the structure we should be thinking about at the beginning. We should also think about accessibility because we also have neurodivergent and people probably with ADHD or other neurodivergent users. How are we putting them at the forefront of the agent we are building? The output, I did not even know that. Even for example, the output, how is your agent returning data? Do we
Yeah.
tell you that, oh, make it concise, make some bold, make important information bold so the users would see it more? Little things like that actually matters. So that's it for me. I'll hand it over now to Kay.
That's really good. I wasn't in that presentation, but
Yes.
I think what you said just now, it paints a very clear picture to me. And I'll be thinking of that too when I design my agents.
Oh,
So that is for this week on the Power Platform Deep Dive. I hope you found this useful. Wherever you're listening to this podcast, if it allows you to give us a rating, give us 5 stars, and feel free to share it with anyone building on the Microsoft Power Platform or anyone who just wants to hear honest conversations around the Power Platform.
would love to hear your stories for Dev Reality next time. If something broke, surprised you, or you learned a lesson, please share it with us so we could have more lessons, real life lessons to go through. And if there's any topic you'd also want us to go over, any topic you would want us to talk about, please let us know in the chat. Thank you. As Kia said, give us 5 star and see you next time.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.